Got dreams of being a professional podcaster, but have no idea what you're doing?
This is impossible.
That's about to change.
A new kind of school.
Welcome to the Pod School Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the show. Last week I was talking about how long it takes you to put an episode together. And this week on the show, I thought I would go through the steps of the podcasting process. If this is something entirely new to you and you sort of have thought, oh, maybe we just sit down and chat into a microphone and then I put it up on the internet and that's all that needs to be done, then I thought I would go through a realistic overview of all of the steps in the process, which might terrify you or delight you if you enjoy a lot of work. The thing about podcasting is it is no small commitment. It doesn't need to take up your entire life. It is 150% doable. I have 2 jobs, a business, and I somehow still manage to get it done, although often I am on the verge of a nervous breakdown, but it can be done. It is absolutely doable. It's just that you're going to probably need to pick and choose some of the things that you put into the process. And I'll give you the optional ones, but the very compulsory ones, there are quite a few of those that you can't you can't chuck those out of the process. So obviously the first step is to plan your episode. The more planned and put together you are in the idea phase, the easier it's going to be to actually get your show together and the quicker you'll be able to get it together. If you are sort of planning and researching on the fly or flying by the seat of your pants or working out where you're going actually in the moment, the record's going to take a lot longer. The edit is going to be a lot longer because you won't be as on track as if you'd just kind of gone in there with a really clear direction and a really clear plan. So that's a really good reason, if you are short on time, to think a lot about the episode before you actually sit down and record it, because it will save you oodles of hassle and oodles of time. Within that planning stage, you can also research your guest, and you'll obviously need to book your guest as well. That's an important part of the process. Otherwise, you'll be sitting down opposite nobody. So the research part of your interview is really important too. And that's something that you might be surprised about the time that takes. You can get stuck in a rabbit hole of research that is hours and hours and hours, depending on who your guest is. So make sure you set aside plenty of time to research so that you know your stuff and you're not kind of flapping about 5 minutes before they arrive thinking, oh my God, I don't know enough. Obviously, you're going to then schedule your record time and then you're going to record your episode. Naturally, makes sense. Otherwise, you've got nothing to put up on the internet. Editing is the next step in the process, and that could be very involved depending on how long your show is or how many guests there are. As a general rule, the longer it is and the more people on the show, the harder it's going to be to edit and the longer that process is going to take. Then you're going to add your intros and outros. So you'll do sort of a basic edit of the voice part of things, and then you'll add your intro and outro that is the sort of identifier for your show. If you've got more complex production like little segments or little sound effects or any of that kind of stuff, all of that goes in at that step of the process. Again, that is going to add more time to your podcasting process if you have more of those audio elements in your show. Then you export your file to MP3 and you upload it to your podcast host somewhere like Whooshkaa, Libsyn or Blueberry, and that's where the file is housed. Then you will schedule that episode or you will publish it straight away if it's ready to go live. Then you've got to create the show notes and embed that audio of the episode, so you've got a supporting page on your website for that episode. And the steps after this, that's sort of all of the essentials. You can maybe renege on the show notes page element, but it is really good to actually do that part of the process, and you can check out one of my earlier episodes about show notes for more on that. After that process, this is where you're a bit more flexible with what you choose to do, because this is all about the promotion of the show. Obviously, all of those steps are the ones that you go through to get your show live on iTunes, and these are the steps in the process when your show is already live. So, there are some additional steps when you're just starting out and you need to submit your feed to directories and that kind of stuff. But here I'm just talking about what you would be doing on a weekly basis when you've already got a live show. So after the show is live or it's scheduled and ready to go, that's when you sort of think about all the things like social media, and that can be really time consuming because you can get as complex as you want here. You could be extracting quotes from the episode and making little images to put on Instagram. You could make click to tweet things so that you can pop them on your show notes page with quotes from the episode and people can click them and tweet them themselves. You can create infographics. If you're giving across information, you might be able to do a little behind the scenes video that you share out. One of the things I do for my shows is I create promo audio, so I will actually send out little snippets of the show to give people a taste of what they can expect, and that takes a lot of time to do. So that could be something that you choose to do, or if you just don't have time, then you can cross that off the list, but that can add time to the process as well. And of course, this is ongoing. If you have an evergreen show where the content will continue to live on over time, it's not necessarily time specific, then don't just be tweeting about it that week and then never tweet about it again. You know, you want to be constantly telling people about the show so they can constantly go and find it. So scheduling that takes some time as well. Essentially, there's just a lot of steps in the process is what I wanted to let you know. On my little sheet of paper here, it's sort of 11 steps to get your show up, and then 12 onwards is the additional stuff that you can pick and choose. It is a big time commitment, and as I said in last week's episode, it's really important to practice things so that you get a realistic understanding of what time this is going to take before you start, and promise your listeners that you're going to be there every week, and then realize, holy crap, I've just completely overcommitted myself. So be mindful of what it takes to actually get your show into people's ears. I don't want that to scare you off at all, but knowledge is power. Remember? So the more you know about this before you get in there, the better prepared you will be to do this and to do it well. I hope that's helped you get some kind of idea of what the process is behind podcasting and releasing each episode each week. And I hope it hasn't terrified you too much. Hang in there. You will be fine, I promise. And this becomes much, much simpler once you have practiced this. Practice will really make this kind of almost be automatic, a lot of these steps in the process. It just can be very daunting when you're starting out. If you are enjoying this show and you're finding the tips useful, I would love it if you would leave a review wherever you listen to the program. And of course, you can get in contact with me anytime to ask a question for me to answer on this show at podschoolpodcast.com. I'll see you next week, and until then, happy podcasting.
That's all for today.